More than 300,000 people have reportedly abandoned their livelihoods and fled their homes since the conflict between farmers and herders intensified in 2018. This is according to a research report by the Open Society Initiative for West Africa and Global Rights. The report focused on Nigeria's Benue Valley, comprising Benue, Plateau, Taraba, Nasarawa, Adamawa, and Kaduna states in Nigeria's north-central zone. Habida Lawal reports.
Over the past decade, escalating tensions between farmers and pastoralists in the region have led to loss of lives, loss of livelihoods, displacement and disruptions of state economy within the area, threatening the country's food security and stability. The conflict is primarily a contest over land and water between farmers and herders. While the conflict has underlying economic and environmental reasons, it has acquired religious and ethnic dimensions. Despite the national outrage, the government is yet to come up with a systematic way to address this conflict effectively. Proliferation of small arms and light weapons is identified and blamed on porous land borders.
There is no doubt, that the conflict, farmer-herder conflict, is highly politicized. There is no doubt about that. And we are not still dealing with it, so the crises are increasing and the proliferation corridors are still opening up more, because the more the frontiers of conflicts are open, the more proliferation, because proliferation is a product of demand and supply. Once there is demand for certain things, like it is in Nigeria today, you and I will agree, it tells you that the supplies will always find their way, either through the shadow market or whichever market they can, because supply will always want to meet demand, and that is always the struggle in terms of proliferation.
Informed by the dynamics of the conflict between farmers and herders, they recommend the need to build and strengthen already existing community policing structure.
It's better the state come out to partner with CSOs, CBOs, consulting firms to develop a pathway to us understanding that our security and peace structure, we don't want to use architecture, is overflowed now, right, has to include these non-state actors. Private security structure has come to stay in this country. Even countries that have organized security, state security system, it's not even enough. They still allow the private security companies to exist. So we need to think about that.
Government at all levels should work together to deploy a joint task force. Joint task force in this case is not just a military joint task force, but a task force that comprises the military component as well as paramilitary and civil institutions to all affected states in the country as an immediate response to the violent conflict. What this study found is that most of the responses have been, particularly for task forces, have been military based without a civilian component in those kind of task forces. So it is important that civil authorities with different specializations in providing civil institutional services to these communities are embedded in the task forces.
The surge of attacks and counterattacks have exerted heavy humanitarian and economic tolls, with severe security and political consequences.